I have to say I enjoyed this episode of The Flash quite a lot. So, Season 3, Episode 12 of The Flash, called Untouchable. In this episode, a lot of things happen. The episode gets really, really intense and very emotional in some parts as well. We start off with basically Barry and Kid Flash, or, Wally. They actually have a race. And they are literally neck to neck. If anything, Wally's actually faster than Barry at some points, which is actually insane. I kind of want to do a separate video just talking about that, but the fact that Wally just caught up to Barry this fast after getting his powers, and it's only been a couple of weeks, which, has been stated later in the episode that they've been keeping the secret of, Iris being killed in the future from Joe, which is revealed later on. They've been keeping that secret for a couple of weeks, so we know a couple of weeks have actually passed, and Wally's actually increasing his speed very insanely fast. So the only reason Barry actually got an edge in this episode was because he ended up just, basically just ended up phasing through a building, which this whole episode is basically just about that phasing. He wants to basically just be a good mentor to Wally, but you can also kind of see that he is a bit jealous, because Wally hasn't really had anybody to teach him how to do all of these things in the middle of the battle, kind of like Barry has. So Barry is going to be like the mentor figure to Wally, even though as strange as that may be because of, their friendship, but Barry's going to be the mentor to Wally. So basically he's trying to teach Wally how to phase, but Wally just can't do it because he's just not motivated enough or amped up enough, by Barry. Barry feels like he's not doing a good enough job. And while all of this is happening, there's Madoff from Flashpoint, which ended up, being from one of those husks. His name is Clive Yorkin, and basically he got arrested by Joe and a few other cops, and now he's basically hunting them down. The character that was Captain Mendez in Flashpoint is dead in this timeline. Basically, we kind of see him. Clive Yorkin has the ability to just disintegrate anything he touches, and basically what happens later on is you have Cecile and her daughter meet up with Joe and his family. They have a coffee, and then you see Clive just show up. Wally comes in and he does the wind thing with his hands, and he just blows him away. But then Clive actually ends up going up after Iris later, and they were actually going to call Barry to go, but Wally wanted to go himself, and he doesn't reach Iris in time, and she just gets barely touched by Clive, but that's enough to get her arm to start disintegrating. So then there's this really, really emotional moment where not Killer Frost, but Caitlin actually has to freeze freeze Iris's arm. Okay, if she freezes it just right, it'll kind of stop it from spreading. And basically she starts to lose control, and you kind of see Julian there pour out his true feelings, how he really sees himself as a very, very weak person, but he sees Caitlin as this really, really strong person, and that actually ends up pulling her back from the brink of just turning into Killer Frost. She regains control, and it was a really, really touching moment there. It was a really touching moment, and it's hilarious just to see Julian, how he's just he just doesn't care. He insults everybody, but on the inside he really does care about everybody there. And I feel like Tom Felton is just perfect for this role. I just don't want him to, because I have a feeling he'll become a love interest for Caitlin, but you know how it is with love interests for Caitlin, they all end up dying, so I just don't want to see him die, because he's a really, really great character to throw in the mix. Because you have all of these optimistic characters, and then you just have this cynical, kind of douchebag character that just kind of kills the mood at times, which is it's just perfect. But at the end of this episode, basically, what, I'm not even going to talk about that. The next thing that actually ends up happening is, Joe ends up going after the cop. I think her name is just, I'm just going to call her Stone. He goes after her. He tries to warn her about, Clive, he's after her. So they both get on the train. And it turns out that what Clive does, he knows they're there. So he actually disintegrates like, I think it's a bridge. He disintegrates it and it falls, and it's in the way of the train. And Barry and Wally both show up, and what Barry does is just insane. Like, he literally goes into the train and just makes the whole train phase through that. Like, that was such an awesome moment. Like I said, this whole episode is about phasing, and Wally saw that, and then Barry says, I believe in you, Wally. You have to stop Clive, because Clive is there. It's like, you have to phase your blood into him, because that's the only way to stop him. Because what Clive's blood does when it goes into somebody, it makes other cells attack themselves, while Barry's cells, repair themselves. So what he literally says, run, Wally, run, which is just, it's just this little, I guess, like, quote thing that they have for when they hype up the character and he's about to do it. They just go like, run, Barry, run, Wally, run. It's kind of cliche, but it works. And Wally just phases through Clive, and he just neutralizes his powers, which is awesome. Another thing I want to say is, I'm glad that they actually got this out of the way and revealed it to Joe that Iris might die in the future. Because now they have total transparency on the team. There's no more secrets. There's no more being on edge. There's no more hiding things. There's less of a risk of falling out or fighting in between each other while there's a massive threat going on, which is good. And at the end of the episode, actually, Caitlin goes up to Julian as he's about to leave to go look after the final Husk character, because he's feeling really guilty. He feels like everything is his fault, even though it really isn't, because he got deceived by Savitar. And, she asks if they want to go have a drink together, and basically he says, yes, of course, and then they just end up going off to have drinks. Now, I don't know if Julian actually had a girlfriend or not. I don't know if that was just a cover-up. I don't think he does, but Caitlin might be his next girlfriend. We don't know. I just don't want him to die. And even Iris herself, she's not scared anymore because she trusts Barry so much, which it's good, but it's like Barry has failed a lot of times, as you've seen. He's failed against Zoom multiple times. At the end, he won, obviously. Against Reverse Flash, he had to have somebody else sacrifice himself to basically beat him. They had to use Eddie as a plot device to actually kill Reverse Flash, to wipe him out of existence. Which is, I don't know, I just hope that he's actually able to do something, him and Wally, because Wally's improving at such a fast rate. I'm kind of scared. I feel like he's going to run himself and Savitar into the Speed Force or something. Like, I don't know, I just have a feeling that something like that's going to either happen for Barry or Wally, because I have a feeling that one of them is going to be gone by the end of this season. It's just a feeling that I have, and then, like, the next season's going to be about them, bringing them back. Like, kind of like New 52-esque, I don't even know if it's New 52 anymore. I haven't really kept up with all those continuities, but I do know that the actual original Wally West ends up coming back in the comics, and it might just be something similar to that. I'm not too sure. But in the end of this actual episode, we see Jessie come back, and it feels like Wally's about to tell her, hey, I have powers, but then she's like, oh no, something horrible has happened. Gorilla Grodd took my dad to Gorilla City. So next episode we have Gorilla Grodd coming back, and they're actually going to be going to Earth 2. So we have Julian, Caitlin, Cisco, and Barry. I don't know if anybody else is going to go. Obviously, they're going to basically have 3 speedsters. That's going to be absolutely insane to see them working together. And, oh my goodness, I'm just really excited for that episode. But speaking of this current episode, this episode was absolutely fantastic. Like, I have no complaints about it. Like, it was an emotional roller coaster as well. It was motivational. It's definitely one of the better episodes of the season so far. Like, really, really good, because now for Barry and Wally, it's not them actually I mean, obviously Wally's kind of a jokester character. He's like, I'm still gonna dust your ass, because they're about to race, and Barry's like, this is serious, but Wally's like, I know, but I'm still gonna dust your ass. So I like that about Wally. He's kind of quirky, and he's wisecracks and stuff, but I just like that they're kind of mellowing down. And Barry actually ended up kind of yelling at Kid Flash earlier. He was like, you called me, but you know, he was just on edge, and he basically told Wally, he's like, look, it's not you, I'm just not being good enough of a mentor for you right now, so I'm gonna do what I can to just put some spirit into you, and you know that you can do this. I'm gonna help you. And that's what he does. By the end of this episode, he actually ends up teaching Wally how to just phase. It's not about like him learning it, he has to learn it through experience, kind of like what Barry did. It's either you do it or you die, basically, and that's the kind of situation that Wally was put in. And I really like Wally as a character, I really do. This whole season 2 and the start of season 3 was just a build up for him to actually get his speed. We all knew it was going to happen. I'm just excited what they do, you know, in the future with this character. I'm really liking this season so far, and the whole Savitar thing that they have. This whole season is focusing on saving Iris from her certain, I guess, death. They've been able to change some events, but I'm kind of excited to see how they're actually going to end up changing it completely. But yeah, I give this episode a literal 5 out of 5. It was that good to me. I really enjoyed it myself. Maybe I'm just too big of a fan of The Flash, but this show is great. You know, I really enjoy it. So, tell me what you guys thought of this episode in the comment section below. Tell me what you guys think Wally's actually so much, like, why is Wally gaining on, you know, Barry? Like, why is he getting so much faster than, you know, Barry ever was? Like, he's already caught up to him, basically, and now he knows how to phase. So in their next, like, race, he might actually beat him and become faster. Like, just tell me what you guys think of that. Do you guys like that? Or are you like, why does everybody have to surpass Barry in speed? But this has been it for me. I hope you guys, you know, enjoy this episode, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to this channel, please do subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. Have an epic day.